Hello friends, today we will see what is the software testing and what are the fundamentals and the basic practices of the software testing. So what is actual the meaning of software testing? We will look in this training session. So today we will cover the following key points. What is software testing? Why software testing is important? What are the goals of the testing? And when does the testing happens in the life cycle of the software development? So basically, the basic fundamentals and the practices that we follow in the software testing process, we will look in today's presentation. So now, the first point is, what is software testing? What is the exact meaning of software testing? So, software testing is a set of activities that intended to find issues, bugs within the product, within the software that we are testing, as well as to validate and verify the software whether they are meeting the business requirements of the client or not, whether they are as per the requirements and the expectations of the customer or not. So before releasing our product or the software to the market or the product environment, we gonna test it to ensure that there is no any critical or a blocker issues that can impact the productivity or the quality of the software that we are delivering to the customer. So to ensure the quality and the requirement expected are whether they are meeting the client expectations or not, we perform software testing. So here we emphasizes in the word bugs and defects. Now what are bugs and defects? So bug and defect is an issue or error that causes an incorrect or unintended result. In other words, it is basically a kind of deviation that is happen in your requirements expected. Okay. So whenever we are performing the testing, we find some unexpected behavior which is not as per our expectations. That unexpected behavior are known as bugs and defects. And for those bugs and defects, we mark or we create the Jira so that it will be clearly visible to everyone that while testing we found these issues. And once these issues are fixed, then again we're gonna retest our software, and then after the insurity or the confirmation that now the issue is not present in the software, we release our software to the prod environment or to the customer. Okay. After it, we have the two terminologies that we use in our software testing process. First one is your verification and another one is your validation. Now there is a very slight difference between both of the terms, but both of the terms are very required and useful in the software testing process. What does verification means? What does validation mean? So verification is the term that ensure or verify the software whether it is built as per the specification or not. So basically, there is a question that answer the meaning of this term. Are you building it right? Is your verification. In parallel, there is validation. So validation is the word that validate your software, your product that was built to solve the original business problem or fulfills the need or not. So basically validation is done to ensure that whether the software that we are testing is as per the customer requirement, as per the need of the customer or not. So the question is, are you building the right thing? Is known as your validation. So this is the major and the key difference between verification and the validation. Now, why testing is important? Why we perform basic test activities while software development lifecycle? Why it is important to test before releasing any of the software? Is it possible to release any of the software without testing it? So the answer is software testing is important so that there is no impact on the cost and the money of our product or of our software. For example, if we deliver our software to the customer without testing it, okay, and what happens if customer face major or minor issues, critical or blocker issues, then what gonna be happen? The question arises in the mind of the customer is, what about the quality of this product? Why I am facing these issues? And then customer will report the issues and the problems that he faced for the software. And again we need to work on our software. Again we need to develop, again we need to do some more activities on that. So it impact the cost of the project. It impact the cost and quality that we are delivering. So this is the first problem occurs if we are not performing software testing in our day-to-day life. Another thing is that if we are not performing any of the testing before releasing our software, then it may be frustrate our client, it may be frustrate our users if the requirement is not as per the expectation of them. What happens if something is missed in our product which are we delivering to the customer and which is very expected by our customer? So what happens if they directly notice that this product is not as per my expectation? Then it can frustrate our client. It can make our client to feel that the quality of the product is not good. So this is main point that we always keep in our mind, and for that we always perform software testing because client is our first priority, quality is our first priority. Okay, these are many, these are just basic or the main reasons why we perform software testing, but apart from this, there are so many of the reasons to perform software testing in our day-to-day life. The first reason, there are so many of the examples which we can take. The first example is the Mars Climate Orbiter, which is launched in 1998 to study Mars climate changes. That is developed by that is developed to use English unit instead of the metric, but it is not tested anymore. It is not tested before tested, it's just released for the prod environment. And what happens? What happens? There is a major bug that it get too close to the Mars atmosphere that your orbiter is disintegrated, which impact the loss of money in a huge amount, that is around of 3 to 7 million dollars, which is a very huge amount and the loss. So this is the one example. If we do not perform the software testing, then what happens? Another example is AT&T long distance, which is also not tested, and what happens at the end? There is a net loss of around 60 million dollars. Another example is a prisoner released early. So this is something that is developed. It is a kind of software that is developed to calculate the sentence based on the good and the bad behavior. If the behavior of the person, of the prisoner is good, then it can be released in the early of his dates. But what happens? It is not tested, and more than 3,000 prisoners had been released early that are not good, that are not good in their behavior. So the net loss, you can imagine, it is unknown. So these are the examples of what happens, what is the impact if we are not performing software testing and we just release our product before testing it or without testing it. Now, another point is, what are the goals of testing? Okay, what are the major key areas that fulfills if we done the testing? So the first point is, verify the software is built as designed or not. Basically, if we performing testing, then it makes sure that the software is built as per specification. It can find the presence of the defects. It reduces the probability of the bugs remaining in the software at the time of the launch. However, this is not possible to release a software without 0% of bugs. It is not feasible. It is not feasible in the practical life. But what we can do, what we can ensure after performing testing, that the bugs should be minimum in the software that we are launching. The bugs can be reduced with the help of software testing, but it cannot be reduced to 0%. Okay, so the first point is that the testing performed to ensure the software is built as per the specification. They can find the as per as many of the defects, and it can reduce the bugs in the software. Okay. Another point is, it validates the software whether it is usable or meets the customer requirement or not. So these are the goals of the testing. Now, when does it happen? When does software testing happen in our SDLC, software development life cycle? When is the correct time to perform software testing? Can we do it at the time of the development? Can we do it at the time of the requirement analysis? So what is the correct phase to do software testing? So basically, there are two models that we follow. First one is the waterfall model and another is your iterative model. So waterfall model is the model that ensures that each and every phase is in progressively running when the first and the prior phase is completed. So basically there are 6 phases in the waterfall model: requirements, design, development, testing, deployment, and the maintenance. Okay, so first one is the requirement. Now what is the requirement phase? Okay, so requirement phase is the phase in which, when the requirement came from the customer or the product owner, we analyze the requirement, we understand the requirement, and we know what we need to do, what is the customer expectation. So in the requirement phase, we analyze the requirement which came from the customer. We analyze what is the need of the customer, what is the problem of the customer, and what we need to provide in the solution. So this all analysis done in the requirement phase. After that, there is design phase. In the design phase, what we do? In design phase, the solution that we have analyzed in the requirement phase, we design it in more structural and architectural level, so that we have the documents prepared for that. We prepare the design document, we prepare the test plan document in this phase, design phase. After that, we have the development phase. Now, in the development phase, what we have designed in the earlier phases, we just implement it. We just code it and make a prototype for our implementation. After, we have the testing phase. Now, this is the time where we perform testing. once we have the developed software, once we have the developed code, we gonna test it. And in this phase, we test all type of testing which is feasible in our product. Maybe it is a functional testing, it is a non-functional testing, it is integration testing, system testing, each type of testing that is feasible for our product we do in the testing phase, and we ensure and find many of the bugs as possible from the software. Okay, after the testing phase, when we confirm and ensure that now our product is ready for the deployment, we go for the deployment phase where our product goes into the prod environment for the UAT. Basically, UAT is the user acceptance testing where user ensure that the product is as per their needs. So basically they test it, okay, in the prod environment. And after that we have the maintenance phase. So where in the real life environment, if there is some error and issues found by the customer after some time, then they send the software back to the product team for the maintenance, where with the team do some maintenance on that product after duration of time. Okay, so this is the waterfall model and all phases that occurs in the waterfall model. After it, we have another model, that is the iterative model. In the iterative model, as the name suggests, iterative model is the model which follows and continuously running in the iterations. So in iterative model, the first phase is analysis, then we have the design phase, then we have the implement phase. Okay, so once it is implemented, again it is go into the iteration. Okay, so there is nothing like that. First we have to whole analyze, then we whole design, then we implement, and then we go for the testing. No, in this we take a small chunk of the whole product, of the whole software. We take the small chunk, and on the basis of that small chunk we perform the iterations. Okay, so these are the models and the phases of the waterfall model and the iterative model. Now, what are the software testing phases and what are the type of software testing? So we have basically these type of testing. First one is your unit testing, which always perform at the unit level at the developer end. So this is the testing which is done by the developer to ensure that whatever they are delivering is at least workable and buildable. Then after the unit testing, we have the integration testing, where we integrate all the unit modules provided by the development team, and then we combine that and we perform the integration testing on all that units. Okay, then after the integration testing we perform the system testing. In the system testing, what happens, we test whole environment, whole system to ensure that it is working as expected or not. Then we have the UAT, as I just told you, that it is a user acceptance testing done by the user or the client to ensure that the software that we are delivering is as per their requirements or not. And then we have the regression testing. So regression testing is basically the testing which is done to ensure that whatever we are implementing in our product does not impact the existing functionality of the software. So it is your regression testing.